Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. So, as you probably are well aware, G4TV might be no more yet again. It has recently been rebranded as XPlay, and apparently, as we have seen so far, a lot of problems and a lot of behind the scenes issues are taking place right at the moment. However, that is not the subject of this particular video. This particular video is assuming that it is over for the most part. We have seen quite a few cancellations of shows that were on the channel. We have to go into depth as to what is going on, as to why this is all happening. So G4TV, when it first started a long time ago on the cable networks, on Comcast, remember it was Comcast that had wanted to launch this back in the day before they were bought out by NBC Universal, or before, or vice versa, when Comcast bought them out. That was the only avenue you had for game news, trailers, and stuff like that. These days you have YouTube channels, you have other avenues you can go to Twitch, and they provide much better coverage, much better integrity, and much better trustworthiness than either the blogs or G4TV had. However, they did have a few quite remarkable hosts on there as well. And we'll get to that in just a second, because I feel like they were being insulted by what took place and what eventually led to its downfall. G4TV relaunched at the head of, I believe it was Adam Sessler who was the head of it. I know who he is, but I don't know if he was the only person in charge of getting it back up off the ground. But now it was in more corporate hands, and we all know how that turns out. We all know how when corporate greed and corporate meddling get into things, they not only want to cater it to who they think the demographic is and to the elitism that goes on, but also to try to go for the lowest hanging fruit possible when dealing with those people who might be their competitors and who might be the people who might be saying, hey, we want the G4TV of old. Enter Indiana Black, Froskurrin, and this is where the wheels come off. Because here's the issues with what she said. Now, she, as you well know, the infamous sexism and gaming rant that she had leveled a few months ago, and G4TV seems to not want to get off of this subject, and we'll get into the specifics of that rant here in just a moment. But it was after that everything just went straight down the toilet, because many gamers felt that they were being unfairly attacked by her, and Adam Sessler just did not help matters at all with his addendum at the end that he approved of the rant, and anybody who didn't like it can go eat it, basically. And they just did not let up. They double, triple, quadruple down on this, and they just made it worse. And they started deleting critical messages at him at Twitch, and pretended that they were vitriolic when they really were not, and it just led to the downfall, and here's where we are right now. Now, the issue with Froskurin's rant, and I have covered this, we know what it is by now. If you do not know about this, I covered it in a video. You can go check it in the upper right hand corner of the screen, and I covered this in detail. Is that Indiana Black had been accused of getting things factually wrong about games. Like, she had thought that Hogwarts Legacy was multi-platform when it was not. It was a PS5 exclusive. She had doubled down on this as well. She has also been accused of not being able to take criticism well, and we have covered that as well. Just look at where she had ranted upon what League of Legends players thought of her shoutcasting. So it's not like she was able to take criticism as it is well. But one of the things that we've seen a few people have done is to use low-hanging fruit in order to shield themselves from criticism, able to shut down criticism without actually having to answer to it, without having to respond to it, responding to it without having to do so. And in this case, the lowest hanging fruit was her gender, her identity. Now, unfortunately, there are trolls online who will take the lowest hanging fruit and try to get a reaction out of it, use the most vitriolic methods in order to get a reaction, or to be able to say, hey, I got him, or hey, you should be involved in gaming, and they'll use whatever will get your cord in the worst possible way that will get the reaction. And the way to deal with it is to not give it to him, because it doesn't matter what you say to him, doesn't matter how you say it to him. What matters is that you have said it to him, is that you did give him the time of day. That's all they want. But some people have used the trolls to their advantage in order to up their stock in a way in the public sphere. We've seen that happen before numerous times. So when somebody says, hey, don't feed the trolls, the people who they're telling that to are those that will actively use the trolls in order to gain sympathy for themselves. They'll take the few trolls that are doing it and then apply their behavior to everybody for a variety of reasons, whether it be to have sympathy in order to get some clout, or in order to promote their product, or something along those lines. And it is making it much harder for people who are actually victims of trolling, of massive trolling, to the point where they feel like they have to harm themselves or something along those lines in order to get serious help, because they have to also weed through these people who will use that for leverage. Now, in Froskurin's case, she was using it in order to shield herself from criticism of her integrity, of her trustworthiness. And that is the first problem that she had when she go for the sexism in gaming, because she knew what she was doing. She was trying to say, hey, you know this few trolls that I've seen that might do this? And remember, she didn't say they already were doing this. She said they might be doing this. You all are doing it, and you should not be. And that leads to another big problem, which is I think we're a little bit tired of being guilty until proven innocent when we never did anything. She basically said that men who would be on her side were not. That the majority of males would protect her if she was experiencing trolling online, or they would try to shut it down for her or something like that. Instead, they felt like they were attacked as well, as if they were part of it when they really were not. And this is something that I feel as though many people are getting tired of hearing. That they are just as fault as the trolls are, because they are trying to invite females into the game sphere, and instead they're getting attacked by those very people. And it's because of either elitism, or in Froskurin's case, she's trying to shut down other more valid critiques about her work, about her integrity, about her honesty to certain products. And yes, I have also talked in great detail about the other part of this whole thing, in that perhaps they're not actually playing the games that they are reviewing, and I also covered this in another video. But I think that men want to be on female side. They want to be on their side, and they usually are. They usually do help to quell that sort of thing from happening. But when you're using that sort of behavior that trolls, the few trolls are doing this, and try to apply it to everybody, use a broad brush in order to gain advantage, in order to shut down criticism of your work, then that makes us very suspicious about whether or not you're giving a serious discussion to those issues. And yes, we can talk about these issues. We can talk about sexism in gaming. We can talk about those sort of things. But it has to be a serious discussion of where all sides are being represented. Because, as I said in a subreddit forum post, there are more than two sides to any issue. There might be 3 or 4 sides. That somebody might say, hey, I'm against sexism in gaming, but I don't want that to be an avenue that people can go to when they feel like there's legitimate criticism they can't answer to. They don't want that being used as an excuse, because it makes it harder for those people who have experienced that sort of thing to be able to be taken seriously, because they have to also weed through all that garbage going on the side. And that also will make people just not want to defend them, because they know no matter what they try to do, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for them to shut down vitriol and trolls, because they feel like they're also being held accountable for something they never did. And they feel as though there's people like Froskurin who came in and talked about sexism in gaming, just said, hey, here's my piece, and then we're going to stop the conversation. Why not let Jared into the conversation? Why not let someone else into the conversation? What about another female host that might not think the same way as Froskurin does? That might be okay with smack talk and stuff like that, as long as it doesn't go too far. What about someone who's in between? What about a sex-positive feminist who might be okay with certain things, but not all the things, then go all the way, who thinks that maybe Froskurin is right on some things and wrong on some things? What about a roundtable discussion about that on another show? Why does it have to be just that one person who has the authority to talk about those things, who has the qualifications to talk about that. Like Bill Maher had said, if the discussion is over, why don't we have another discussion? Why can't we have that discussion as well? Why can't we have another female on the panel as well who can talk, has been more middle of the road than she is? That gives me suspicion that maybe it wasn't about the sexism and it being a serious discussion, but rather a way for her to dismiss criticisms about her integrity. And that was the big problem here, is that her integrity was not up to par with the host that she was trying to insult. And yes, I use that term the way I said it, insult. Because she talked about Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn specifically. Now, she said, oh, well, they're not as good looking, and I'm not going to use the word she said here, but she said, oh, they're not as pretty as I am, and thus you want them instead of me, because I'm not as pretty as they are, or whatever it was. That's not the reason. That is not the reason. Now, yes, they are attractive. I will give them that. And yes, they did have some skits in which they were sex positive, to put it in calmer terms. However, the one thing that Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn had that Froskurin does not is trust and integrity. When I heard a review by Morgan Webb on XPlay, you know what I had? I put my trust in her that she knew what she was talking about, that she had experience in the medium, that she cared about what she was talking about, she had the passion for the industry, and that if she said something was good to play, then I could trust that I could spend my money on that game because I trusted what she said. It was the same as if Dodger were to say it or Total Biscuit were to have said it, that she was a trusted voice in the gaming industry. It's the same as Olivia Munn in her news segments. She was trustworthy. People want to see people they are familiar with. They can trust that they are feeling like that they have a connection to, one way or the other. Yes, Morgan Webb was attractive, but she was also smart. She also knew what she was talking about. She knew her craft. She knew how to talk to people instead of at them. Something that Froskurin could not do. She does not have that integrity. She does not have that trustworthiness. She had big shoes to fill, so the pressure was going to be on her to prove that she had that. Jared, the completionist, has that trustworthiness. Adam Susser, for better or for worse, does have that trustworthiness. That's why she had that tag put on her, because she had big shoes to fill. She was the new person. She was the new person on the block there, and she couldn't handle that. But instead of trying to prove to us that she had that she knew what she was talking about, that we could trust her, she instead attacked us for criticizing her trustworthiness, and to say, oh, the only reason that you're criticizing me is because I'm a woman. That's far from the case. But instead of trying to apologize for that and to correct the statement, and she could have come on the next day and say, hey, I didn't mean every man did this. Of course I have big shoes to fill. Of course you people did like Morgan Webb's style of presenting information about games. And Olivia Munn is an accomplished actress, and she has been trustworthiness into giving you news and information about upcoming games and about upcoming events and stuff like that. No, she did not do that. Instead, the staff at G4 completely doubled down on all of this, and they pretended that the only reason why anybody would criticize her is because of her gender. And they continue to attack regular gamers, not just the trolls. Those deserve to be attacked. Those deserve to be told to shut up. I'm talking about the normal everyday gamer who was seeing that and saying, why are you including me in that? I'm not doing anything to you. Why are you including me in it? And I don't appreciate that you are reducing my criticism to such a degree that you're accusing me and labeling me of something that I was never going to do and I never did. You're characterizing my criticism of somebody for their integrity or their trustworthiness, and instead just saying that I'm doing it because she's a female. And that's why their stock dropped. And yeah, if you want to review older games, okay, that's fine. But sprinkle in some newer games in with them. I mean, yes, I get it that they have a lot of ground to cover. They were gone for a long time. So I kind of get that to some degree. However, those games are old news. And here's the other thing is that they were already reviewed by people on the internet, on YouTube, that can do it 10 times better now. We don't need G4 anymore. We don't need that necessarily. We have Angry Joe. We had Total Biscuit until he sadly passed away. We have Pro Jared. We have those other people who know how to do this 10 times better with less and less people than G4 has, and with a lot less corporate backing. And that's the other thing that people want, is that they want people who they know is not going to be held down by corporate meddling, who is not going to be told what to say and how to say it. And yeah, there is YouTube, and yes, we have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, they can do it with less people a lot better, and that's saying something. And that's because there's no middleman, and so we can trust them better. And it doesn't help us that these corporate elitist groups going after YouTubers. And it's because they don't know how to compete with them. So they're trying dirty-handed tactics in order to do so, and the way to do it here is to label every YouTuber the same way. And I can tell you for a fact that that's not the case either. If you want to have our trust, do better. Froskurin could have easily proven herself to be just as trustworthy as Morgan Webb, and she is insulting Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn as well. How do you think those two women feel that they got put on blast by Froskurin? She was basically saying that Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn were pick-me's. And if you know about the term, you know where I'm going. That's what Froskurin basically called Olivia Munn and Morgan Webb. And if I was Munn or Webb, I would be saying, you know what, Froskurin, you can shut up about what I did on that channel, because people trusted us more than they trust you. If I was Morgan Webb, I would be throwing furniture around at hearing what Froskurin has said, or I would be setting a tipped table on fire at hearing what Froskurin was saying about her, because that's her saying that. It wasn't us that said it. It wasn't the men. That was Froskurin specifically that was saying that, and she's the only one that had said that they were being viewed like that. So is she viewing them like that? Is Froskurin viewing Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn as pick-me's? What about Layla Kaylee as well? And that was another reason why G4TV is going downhill, and they're still burning in flames. And G4TV staff still do not get that point. They still don't understand that. They are still trying their hand at this. They're still trying to say that the only reason why she got criticized was because she was a female, and the only reason they're going downhill is because of sexism in gaming. You know what sexism in gaming has to do with G4TV going downhill? Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Zero. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. The only persons that G4 has to blame is Froskurin and Adam Sessler. And Adam Sessler didn't do himself any favors by doubling down right away on this. If they really think that the only reason that G4TV is going downhill is because of Froskurin being female, then why is Adam Sessler being included in any of this? He is just as culpable of this, and he is just as much of a shill-lib in all of this as Froskurin is. And that's what's going on here. This is corporate meddling, using the lowest hanging fruit in order to gain sympathy because they can't answer any other criticism about their product right now. And they haven't been able to, so they're going to try this. And that didn't work either. And it's not going to work. We're not going to let it work. Yes, there is sexism in gaming that's happening, but it's not happening in this situation. They are critical of Froskurin because she was getting things factually wrong before, and she can't handle criticism well, and this is the only way she can do it. This is the only way she can answer to it. And if you really do think that it is sexism in gaming that's causing all of this, then you are being propagandized. You are being lied to by these people, because these people are owned by big corporate media, the establishment. They want you to not go on YouTube. They don't want you to trust us. They don't want you to go to these other YouTube channels. They can't compete, though. They don't want to compete. They want to keep the status quo, so this is how they're going to do it. They are lying to you. Yes, there is sexism in gaming that goes on, but it can be discussed in much better ways. in which people can tell of their experiences, that can say, hey, this is a few ways we can deal with it, a few ways it's been going on, but we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater here. And what Froskurin is doing is saying, hey, you know that baby, he's a demon baby anyway, let's throw them out as well. The baby is just as guilty as the bathwater is. That the baby is only going to get dirty again anyway, let's just throw the baby out too. And that might be a bad metaphor, but you certainly get what I'm saying here. And from the stunts that they're pulling recently in order to get people onto their platform, I would suggest that maybe they're hypocrites anyway. So the bottom line here is that no, Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn should not be insulted by Froskurin, and they should feel insulted by her. They should feel insulted by her because she called them out as being pygmies. That's what she basically did. They are more trustworthy than she is. They're with more integrity than she is. And she painted every single man with the same brush, and that is not fair to those people who would be on her side and would protect her if she were getting a bunch of trolls at her. And of course we would as well, because no one deserves to be trolled like that. But unfortunately for her, she preempted the attack and she was still at it, double, triple down, and their producers did not do any favors for them either, Adam Sessler being one of them. And the person said, if you don't like it, don't watch me, another one, because yeah, you're not fooling anybody trying to lay the bait down like that. That is not going to work. If you wanted to have people respect you, prove that we can trust you. You did not do that, and G4TV did not learn anything from it. So this is the just desserts from that. And from the reports that they're still at it and they're still not learning anything, it doesn't seem as though they're ever going to learn anything. My name is JD Shadow, and that just happened.